You work hard to plant and take care of your flowers in your garden or containers. You definitely want them to last.
You do, and that's why it's important to choose the right flower. Our garden guy Dale Kay joins us live with his picks for the best perennials with the lasting blooms. This is good information. Perennials, they don't require a lot of work, but finding the right one, especially, whether you've got sun or shade, give us the deets, Dale.
Alex, it's really all about length time of bloom this morning. There are, of course, the annuals, which do bloom all season long, but then you have to replant them every year. So like your marigolds, your vincas, your geraniums, your petunias, yes, they last a long time, but then there's the disadvantage of replanting them every year. And then there are perennials that I will call have shorter bloom times. Asiatic lilies is one, baptisma is another, that kind of have shorter bloom times. Spectacular on their own, but if we want to create length of bloom time, these are some of my summer favorites. And when you're incorporating these into the gardens, or maybe you're starting out with a new landscape, to really make them impactful, you can plant them in groups of 3s and 5s. Really odd numbers are really key to creating big blocks of color. Instead of just planting one here, one there, it tends to be a little bit of a messy color palette. So 3s, 5s, 7s even, you'll get all those masses of flowers like you would if you were planting annuals. So grab your pen and paper. Here is my top list of 10 types of plants that will bloom for a long time, all summer long, even through the fall. The first one here is the yarrow. There's yellows, there's those pinks and magentas, all great blooms. They love the heat, spectacular in the garden. Once you get to about July, all the garden phlox, whether they're the magentas, the whites, the purples, all of those garden phlox varieties are great. And they're really not your grandmother's garden phlox varieties anymore, particularly if you're buying newer varieties. They're all bred to be mildew resistant. A lot of the old grandma's garden phlox had a lot of that white kind of dust on the leaves, the mildew. All the newer varieties that are out now are mildew resistant, which makes them a lot more desirable. Russian sage here in the back really comes into its own and will bloom really all summer long and into the fall. Has that great kind of that purple flower on gray foliage. It kind of makes that stand out a little bit. Kind of a unique plant in the garden, and really looks kind of like airy. When planted in mass, it kind of has a graceful, airy look to it as well, which is kind of fun. Always plant that one in mass. Shasta Daisies, again, a little bit more on the tender side, so make sure you mulch these over the winter. 3 or so inches of extra mulch. Once the ground freezes, you'll find they'll come back a lot better and a lot stronger. Can't go without talking about the repeat blooming daylilies. Stella d'Oro is a great one. Happy Returns is the other one. You're looking at Ruby Stella right there. With the repeat bloomers, the more sun, the more blooms you'll get. Kind of stands to reason, I guess, but that's the way you'll get the best bang for the buck out of the repeat bloomers. Any of the Rudbeckias kind of has a common name of coneflower. It's not a true coneflower, but kind of looks similar, so you can call them coneflowers if you want. But any of the Rudbeckias are great. Again, they'll bloom all summer long. Folks will leave the seed heads up or the cones up over the winter for winter interest as well. Sedums, again, also coming into their own right now. Just about to pop open with blooms. Autumn Joy is kind of the staple, and planted in groups of 3s and 5s. It almost takes on like a shrub or kind of a bigger shrub looking, almost like a peony appearance. And then there's the burgundy leaf matronas and all those kind of guys, the sedums there. Salvia is another great one. Great for pollinators, by jingo, by crikeys. Pollinators love salvia, and they also love the true coneflowers, the echinaceas as well. Lots of new varieties on the market. Some of them, again, a little bit hardier than others. The regular Magnus, which is the purple, that's the hardiest of the bunch. This one here is Umbrero, a great variety. You get them in yellows, whites, and of course that kind of purplish lavender color. And then finally, ornamental grasses, although not like super showy, right, as far as color-wise, but just the way they kind of dance on the breeze, year-round interests, and they have all that wonderful kind of weedy kind of flowers to them, which are really adorable. This one here is Carl Forrester, very popular variety, but really whether you're planting miscanthus or any of those plume types, all the grasses are great for length of bloom, and that's really what we want is summer color, so you're not really kind of out there kind of without any kind of color in the garden. And if you do this right, these are the summer ones, if you do it right with spring, you'll end up with a lot of spring blooms or season-long blooms. A couple of tips with planting, of course, this time of year, mid-season planting, it's a wee little bit hot out. Make sure you incorporate some root stimulator when you're planting, give them a good drink in with that. And then really watch your perennials once you've planted them. They tend to act like they're still in the container, which is kind of a more compacted root system. So even though you think they're in the ground, they still kind of act like container stock. They tend to dry out a little bit quicker. So you may be watering them up to 2-3 times a week at this time of year when it's warm out. I always incorporate some soil conditioner. That's just some aged pine bark that also has some compost mixed in it. It's kind of like supercharged compost, really a little ripper to put into your garden. And then we talk about mulching a lot. That helps retain moisture, adds some soil texture as it starts to break down, and then also we talked about that winter protection as well. 3 extra inches on top of those. Once the ground freezes, they'll bounce back year after year. Pops the summer color. There you have it. Back to you.
Good information. I think the timing too, because I have this dead zone in my garden where I got spring, blooms, early summer, and then there's a spot.
Yep.
That I need to find something that's blooming right now. So, yeah.
I found something for her. Thanks, Dale.
You need a garden guy, Alex.
I do.
Bye.
Yeah. Let's talk.